Chedan Zoye Chonam Long Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate bodhicitta motivation, or the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. With that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta motivation, we should participate in this discourse on lojong, mind training or thought transformation. Allow me to read a couple of pages from Mind Training Like the Rays of the Sun to give you the blessing of lineage oral transmission followed by explication.
这什么的民族为这把些没没别这把些的，这到这我就知了人，就是俺的明年为节不上来到我那里。现在俺的上街上的呢，地区所代表你的地区就现在之后，这到位的就是这不是街上啊，领导上面就了，就上面最少的第一他都挨着小叔就说这边点了。接着没能耐讲，领送的能耐讲的讲上是咱们领导东西，如果呢他们这边点了，我的跑步空气头脑可以不是什么别少不着，上学别介少不着，一些都不来老别用的工具没当的水些的没些了就是了。你叫你叫那大给我们就能得了心没得我们心没，看到大概得到的蒙北七江街路那么7万9月对接在两个节目当去。我就是你没说个对人的大概绿拉手就能一把没事没把别什么东有啊东西。现在个偏别说其实大人的你就那大那些人的气的的，前年的这那我就忙把些看了，的是没的生气忙把大家没，大概可能是送把大肉，他得想的。他们是寻找这个人呀，东头是为了对，那几位人把他，咱们小带嘛是，这些他几位人把这些，他那可是他，要是就有的，可他，这些可是，什么大这些，那么用啥这个，那就有些他的，咱们我们都是小了，几位他的，可能要。ཉམ se le da min no che ba che la je je so dis som ti ge ti da ma ganga de ni la ma se ni ba nga ja si ma ba shi ne in se le ba ma ju ne ne de ka de ma che je de ma ju de de yong res yo di ju ba de she da de ma ju she ba de da la ma zu ka de mi ne ma so be ne be ganga ne ju ba to ba she da ge ne ka de ka dum la ma ke da dang cha de zo na le da dere do karsa bodo ne ma tsobe kangal be loma tonda mambo yuge shida shine teju to jashu bu shebre sila de zona kare da be chewa sa do ro ta da ma di yams on de zona en jivato ge de shungo ris da de ma jeru bu gene en de de zambi chewa su de ganga ne de shungo ris o di de da de karsa da be chewa to mo ba karsa gibe ba de be shwa to mo ye ta ba se ti na ji da ke de do karsa sang ji song gang ga ne dang ji de ta de ji de be ta ro ge shi ti ma ro ji yo mo de la ti ba she ju da en te ba she bo la en ji ba ji de de sang ga de wa yin yo re se ti ge ge ni ti di ji da ge ne dan be shwa ti da to mo ye shwa de ka re se na da ge nyem je ge sem di ge de ka re se di应着就应làm就是些的是，我的土木小事，但现在的也得说是，一定研究工人这可啥，看这个我们看这个的地错啥个什么东西嘞，见都是做是就两个名额的要嘛是吧？是的，但的，那些研究过些的，那业界刚刚推荐做运动上了，那现在里边少就些的，压个是不是这些的，那的土木嘛也。
Those of you who have this English translation of mind training like the rays of the sun, Geshe read from page 19, unnumbered page 19 to page 22 to give us the blessing of lineage oral transmission. And now we are back to page 19 where we left off last time. And as Geshe reminds us, that this mind training or Lochong discourse is presented under a number of outlines, and the outlines that we mentioned earlier are the special features or qualities of the authors and the discourse. And in the case of the special features or the qualities of discourse, we talked about the qualities of discourse in general. In other words, that Shakyamuni Buddha, a historical teacher, taught numerous discourses, and all the discourses are meant as antidotes to either overcome and eliminate self-grasping or grasping at self, dangzin, or self-cherishing or self-centeredness, chinzin. And as I explained to you the other day, that Buddha's discourses pertaining to Shervakas and Patika Buddhas, hearers and solitary realizers, are primarily geared towards overcoming and eliminating grasping at self. So in that way, they will be able to find complete freedom from samsaric existence. And Buddha's teaching on of Mahayana, or the discourse, is primarily geared towards overcoming and eliminating self-centeredness or self-cherishing attitude. And so in general, all the teachings given by Buddha are very purposeful and meaningful in that they could help us to be able to overcome and eliminate self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude. And now the particular qualities of this mind-training discourse, as we already talked about, pertains to the three different lineages that I mentioned the other day, through which we receive Buddha's teachings. One is what called profound lineage. And the other one is the extensive lineage. And then we have the third one here, which is we called Labchen Chuju. I will translate as extensive deeds or beneficial deeds. And so this particular lineage, of course, all of these lineages have been integrated, have been received by the great master from the Golden Island or Sumatra Island called Dharmamathi, Lama Selingpa in Tibetan. And from him, all the lineages were transmitted to great Adisha, Dipankar Shrijan Adisha, and from great Adisha to the number of great Kadamba masters or the Geshes. And of course, all of these lineages were integrated by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. And as we already talked about this, Kadamba Geshes were not just intellectual scholars, but they were highly realized masters, and each of them had thousands of disciples, and among them there were many outstanding disciples who were highly realized, great erudite scholars, and who transmitted the lineages of mind training to many other disciples. And so all of this is to tell us that if we do follow and practice mind training, we will be able to become highly realized like this great master. So that is, as a matter of fact, what we call a distinguishing feature or quality of this particular mind training or thought transformation discourse. And what is particular about this? Of course, it has many qualities. Perhaps the one that stands out is, how we can, adopt equalizing and exchanging self for others, Dakshin Nyamje technique, So through that, we also learn how to transform adverse conditions into favorable conditions. That is an amazing thing. In other, Buddha's teachings, the Buddha probably talked about, let's say, how to cultivate aversion to samsara, how to cultivate compassion, and how to practice generosity. But each of them is very beneficial, but beneficial in the sense that it produces positive outcomes. You accumulate a lot of merit, but it really doesn't teach us how to transform adverse conditions into favorable conditions. But this mind training discourse or the lineage, it really provides us techniques to be able to transform adverse conditions into favorable conditions, which means that there isn't anything that is obstacle or unfavorable per se, because we could take each one of them, even the adverse conditions into favorable conditions to be able to augment our practice, to be able to advance in our spiritual development. So that is a very unique feature of Lochong or the mind training text. So as I told you before, that Buddha gave discourses of Theravada and Mahayana. Within Mahayana, we have Sutrayana and Tantrayana, but within the Sutrayana, we have this particular Lochong mind training text, which specializes in transforming adverse conditions into favorable conditions. Yes. No. So the uniqueness or the distinguishing feature of Lochong mind training text, it really pertains to cultivating altruistic mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta, Chengzhu Jisem. And that could be done through a number of meditational techniques. One in particular is equalizing and exchanging self for others, Daksen Nyamje. And if we were to experience, bodhicitta or the altruistic mind of enlightenment, it is a very powerful, state of the mind that can outshine many other qualities. As Geshe recalls from his memory, in the Dashabhumi Sutra, Sutra on the 10 grounds, it's mentioned that, just as a piece of diamond, very special kind of diamond, it can outshine any other kinds of jewelry, such as the golden jewelry. And that piece of diamond, however tiny it is, it still retains the name diamond, and its preciousness value outshines all other jewelry. In the same way, if we gain a certain experience of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, it outshines the qualities of Sharvakas and Pratika Buddhas, or hearers and solitary realizers. And as Geshe again recalls from his memory, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva, in his Junju, A Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, or Bodhisattvachar Avatar, states, enlightened beings, as if they have contemplated for eons, what would be the most beneficial thing for, others? And all of them unanimously concurred as if that the development of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, is the most beneficial attitude or state of mind for sentient beings. So therefore, bodhicitta is highly praised by enlightened beings, and it is extremely powerful state of mind.
我这他那第三季天的第二种我的东东就被人了的，那一百人把他那边小东西这些的，那么就老人都现在干啥？全国这边是在我不小些，但我可去小些就了，第三季第七个了，对，那么就大看见去现在刚刚当我看的，我的当我随这的这些。当我这个培养这些，我的家长是用过了，三届政府也能没呢。这奇怪，看着是呢，过年个时候晓得，当我用啥都看那养啥都看那用，弄就是啥的。那用的嘛，的当把娘当的，这把同给这看着用的，我第一次用的在那当我这里呀，娘是那老家那样是吧？的当那里了我的。
So the outlines may be phrased differently, in the different Buddhist literatures. For example, in this particular case, an outline, pertains to discussing the lineage of the mind training discourse. But then, what is included in that is to discuss qualities of authors or the masters and qualities of the discourse or the mind training discourse and practice itself. So in the context of Lamrim, stages of path enlightenment, right at the beginning, we have outlines like, the qualities of the authors, Zababa Chewa, and the qualities of the discourse of the teaching, Chuji Chewa, or the Dharma itself. So the outlines may be phrased, similarly or differently, regardless that, in general, when gurus give teaching, so at the beginning they often talk about the qualities of author of a text, and then the qualities of the text and the teaching content in that text. And there are reasons why they do that. That number one, we would like to definitely know about the origin of any teaching and authenticity and the credibility of the teaching, whether the teaching is authentic or not. Okay, and then we also want to know that if we put the teaching into practice, what kind of realizations can we gain? Who have gained any realizations, following whatever the discourse, the practice is. So therefore, we will discuss about the masters who have embodied the teachings and who have gained high realizations through the practice of the teaching. So all of those things are, to inspire us, those who are interested in following any particular kind of teaching and practice, that we feel inspired that this teaching is authentic. This teaching has, practitioners who gain high realizations, and therefore, I would like to, follow in their footsteps. It inspires us. It brings us joy, enthusiastic joy, to follow in their footsteps.
대래도 원저시로 대전이 가는 고도야 되래. 정말 라운드나 시시야래 다건지.
So we are on page 19. As Geshe explained, that this lodging or mind training, like the rest of the sun, is presented at the beginning under two outlines. Number one, presenting the lineage, the qualities of the lineage, and number two, presenting the qualities of the discourse or the mind training tradition itself. And we already talked about those things. And then the next outlines we have are, presenting the preliminaries and presenting the actual teaching or the practice. And so on page 19, the big caption in bold reads, contemplation of the preliminary teachings. Okay? And so under this, from the 7-point mind-training root text, Lojong Tundima, we have a line which states, I quote, first train in the preliminaries. Okay? And so here, the preliminary, teachings and practice are pretty much the same as, we have already talked about in the context of Lamrim, stages of the path to enlightenment. The preliminaries would include, understanding and contemplating fully endowed human form and its enriching factors, and contemplating the transitory nature of life. Life is impermanent, and this life will come to an end. Thinking about the death, and contemplating the working of law of karmic action and results, and contemplating the suffering nature of samsara. So all these preliminary practices are, as we have often talked about in the context of Lamrim discourses, and through preliminary teachings and practices all the way up to the development of ultimate mind of enlightenment, ultimate bodhicitta. What is suggested here is really to what are the things we need to do while we are in a session, we are in practice session or meditation session, and what are the things we need to do when we are in between sessions or post-meditational or post-session periods. So as I mentioned to you, this mind training teaching is metaphorically referred to like, the wish fulfilling jewel. There are many kinds of jewel. Perhaps the wish fulfilling jewel is the most precious and one. And in the same way, this discourse of the teaching of mind training, is very outstanding in that sense. It fulfills wishes of spiritual aspirants.
손으로 탄간 종슬라르와 그때 대전 이가 유진의 희고다르와 그래서 예배쇼세야 돼 애들 약간에 차리고 무릎나게 비티나테데 가래 로데데지 빠르버지가 되나게 애는 언제 신제페자 게 로데네 디데지레스 남자 유는다 나제 말을 사시면 니모고 마로나래 애네 지가 통하면서 저 디는 내셔 애네 바로 때 지금 애니 계속 상징이 그게 틀린 애니 예심 때때서 용거리스 대학에도 유령 뭐 요만 때 시세 한테 유령 오면 숙소 오면 들으러 쇼가 또 봐면 왜 애니 그 계획가 뉴뉴 계획가 뉴슈면게 애니 갑들한테 유령 되다 면게现在给我提的给我用进去了大些的咱给我老的给咱就有了没了说的不是要嘛了是现在天桥到了那吃了那把的就是梦着几十块钱出去吧在结果人上这些的都是生活当的那天桥的你搞这个这类的我的你好苦这是我的
So the first preliminaries mentioned is to contemplate a fully endowed human form or precious human life endowed with enriching qualities or factors, in Tibetan called Daljor. And as we know that fully endowed human form is very difficult to find. Once found, is greatly meaningful and purposeful. If we don't make best use of this fully endowed human form right now, once we lose it, it would be rather very hard to get this kind of human form over and again. That's what is stated by Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva in his Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, as Geshe quoted from his memory. And when we look at our virtue or positive thought, it seems very rare and very feeble. And again, the examples given in the Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life is it is like in a pitch dark night or stormy night, you see once in like a lightning strikes for a second or a moment, and then it vanishes. But most of the time, it is completely dark and gloomy. So like that, as Geshe explained, that for most of the time, we are shrouded in the darkness of ignorance of self-grasping. Once in a while, by the blessing of enlightened beings and Buddhas, some positive thought arises in us like a lightning that strikes, isn't it? But then it doesn't seem to stay too long. It just vanishes very fast. Our positive state of mind is very ephemeral and very weak, and so therefore, finding a fully endowed human form over and again seems to be a very, very difficult thing for us, if not impossible from that perspective, And as Geshe explained, that often, as we say, that to be able to have this kind of fully endowed human form and life, when we should have abided by pure ethics, right? The Thubten Namda, we should have engaged in, practices of perfection such as generosity and so forth, and then we should have made proper aspirational dedication of our merit. So and only then it is possible for us to attain human form like this over and again. But how much do we do, right? We can just look at ourselves and is this what we do often or not? So from that kind of a perspective, we can see that fully endowed human form that we have right now is greatly meaningful, but we could easily lose it. And once we lose it, it would be very hard to regain it, because when we look at how much positive thinking and action we create, it's very minimum, they are very weak, and they are not strong and so forth.
hotel shed in the lake you say later.
So as we just talked about, this precious human life or fully endowed human form with enriching factors is a greatly meaningful and purposeful life, but yet it is very ephemeral, very transient, And so as Geshe explained, that having found this wonderful human life with so much capability and possibilities like before us, but if this life is a lasting one, let's say it goes forever, so to speak, well, then there's another matter, isn't it? But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for that matter, this life has a limit because it will come to an end, okay? So that's why, we have to contemplate the impermanence of life, death and dying. And of course, everybody knows that one day we are going to die. There's nothing mystery about it, and nobody has to doubt about it because we all know nobody has lived forever. We have tons of examples that, somebody lived and then died, And so we all are certain that one day we will all die, But then the question arises, what happens after death? Is death the end of everything? Just like, we kind of blow out the candlelight. Nothing goes. It just ends right there. Or something goes on after death. Yeah. So many schools of thought, even many non-Buddhist schools of thought, except Charvaka, who believes that this life is everything and once you die, everything ends here. Many even non-Buddhist schools of thought believe there is such thing as next life, rebirth. Yeah. So if there is a rebirth, so what determines that rebirth? Do we have a choice? Can we choose to be whatever we want to be? But under the given circumstances, we don't have a choice. What determines our next rebirth is by our own karmic actions, what kind of karmas we have done and accumulated. And so therefore, the practice of abandoning negative actions and the practice of adopting and cultivating positive actions, kitik panglang in Tibetan, very easy to say in Tibetan, but I need to use such long words in English, is a what we call essential practice, isn't it? Karmic actions results are a fact, and we could even, establish that fact through reasoning. We don't have to quote, scriptural authority to establish that law of karma exists and it produces its results. That could easily be, he didn't say easily, knock that off. That could be established through, logic and reasoning. So this is how, again, as we think about impermanence, death and dying, it automatically connects us to the need to contemplate the law of karmic action and outcomes. So as we see the the necessity of law of karmic action and results or outcomes, because that's what's going to determine our next life or the rebirths. So there is every possible outsiders or sentient beings in samsara. So, unless you have a confidence about your next life, I know who I'm going to be, that is an exceptional case. Other than that, we could be reborn anywhere in samsara. And let's say if we are reborn in the unfortunate states such as hell, in the hungry ghost world, would we be able to handle it? What would our life be like in those miserable states? So this is what we should be contemplating about. And so if we don't want to be there, then we have to really think about how to abandon karmic actions that could possibly precipitate our rebirth in those states. And as Geshe explained, that back to page 19. So these are the preliminaries that we will contemplate and meditate on. All of this leading to connecting us to the development of ultimate bodhicitta or mind of enlightenment. The way it's presented in the text is that what do we do in a session and what do we do in between sessions, right? Tunzam. So this looks like the teaching when it's presented. It was more based upon practice-based teaching, isn't it? Nyamtip, right? You practice in a session and then what do you practice in between sessions? And as Geshe explained, our lineage masters often remind us that what we actually practice in a session, that should inspire us to be able to maintain our practice in between the sessions or post sessions. And what do we do in the post sessions should facilitate our practice in a session. It is not like that we are kind of very dedicated and serious while we do our practice in the session, but when we are in the post sessions or in between sessions, then we feel distracted and like, okay, life goes on, because then that's not going to be helpful for our next practice. So we have to see the things we do in a session and in a post-meditation session, how this could augment our practice, how this could facilitate our spiritual practice and development. So that's a key thing to remember. So as it is stated there, that the actual session could be divided into three. The way it's translated here is called preparation, meditation, and behavior. But I will rephrase a little differently. It is like a preliminary, actual practice, and conclusion. So the preparation or preliminary, of course there are many things, but most important perhaps is to cultivate proper motivation. Kunlong, right? In the beginning, we have to kind of cultivate a right kind of motivation, proper kind of motivation. And then we do the actual practice. In this particular case, the practice is equalizing and exchanging self for others and cultivating bodhicitta. So that is the actual practice. And then the conclusion is that we dedicate our merit properly. So each session would include three things: beginning or preliminary, basically cultivating proper motivation; actual practice, in this particular case, equalizing and exchanging self for others and cultivating bodhicitta; and the end of the session or the conclusion is to do proper dedication.
Jojo the Karata gave a motion the conject the ya any Karsa. The Constitution, then Rabaku, then Shiva Yomi, the Joy should do with Tondi, 상황시고레스 데 그래서 추주 상황샤스 어디래 될다 그래서 네 소다 담점들이 지나 지담 요시고 거기 셔버 부여로 근데 어디 거기 저 수주등에 땅 남중을 나면서 가 저수로 농거로 와 어디시 그래서 상황샤사 대제다 중국 그래서 담부디 담부시야 되시 이번 모기가 동면에 다다 알레 그래서 동시에 소화다 되면로 그래서 무슨 너희 라마셔야 지금 왜 그래서 괜찮아 가지 당지도 좀 해야 돼 데 그래서 데리 매도 순서보다 실제로는 다들 이라고 진짜 뭐 내가 저기는 다시 디와셔시라서 동시에 소화다 세상 와 어디게 다들 무의도 제시에 어디셔 그래서
We are in the middle of page 19. So in the beginning, following the footstep of Master Dharmamati of Sumatra, or the master from the Golden Island, Lama Seling by Tibetan, we should engage in the preliminary or preparatory practices. As you may be familiar with this, in the context of Lamring, we talk about Jorwe Chutu, 6 preliminary or preparatory practices. That will include, although here it says decorate, so I don't know the word decorate is the proper one. Basically, we will, clean the whole practice, location of the practice completely, neat and clean, and then we will, arrange properly or set all the offerings that we have gathered through pure motivation, not by deceit and manipulation and hidden agendas, pure offerings and so forth. So we engage in the 6 preliminary practices, which includes the things I just mentioned, and then we will, supplicate to be able to, fulfill 3 great purpose or 3 great meanings. As Geshe recalls from Lama Chöpa, or in that context, where we can say that whatever we practice, may it really become an effective antidote to counteract our self-grasping. Or we request our gurus that may we never be, never generate any kind of misconceptions or misunderstandings, on the path. May we be able to generate correct understanding or the proper understanding of things, and bless us to be able to stay on the course until we reach our spiritual destination. So these are what we call the great meanings, the purpose for which we make our, supplication.
대다 게임 코에 등은 나도 용왕이 나스 어디야 코와 코르동으로 대다 티인시 버려와 그래서 도면에 다다 봐도 토고 봐도 런 레셈지 형도 손스 셈지 형어서 다 셈주 셈부 다 셈지 당간도 셈지 다는 가서 셈지로 이어서 와서 약고요 디 형원으로 신데 약고요 다다다다 셈디 그래서 팀에말게 랑생 요서와 시티 형한테 누가 말어 디 잡도지야 현다지 대야 지시 디 형한 누구에서 어디 이모가 뭐서와 시부이 가르치는 시야이어리시 어디서도 건지 제가로 장만도 식시 야면은 상저도 무저도 진짜 소리 심거랑 뭐 정말 요 말이시 엔들 배저 당당하고 시드시어도 다 레카로 장만저지나 근데 레들 remote ingzhibo medo zhibo yakbu tshiji na ko rindan chaji zongya shawarwa. Che de gewe sem do jang do ko pen do ris. Ta de yang 他这个就是这个，可是啥的，从的本质是西山西山嘛。
No.
这从那做是吧？他从那做西山，在地热的这个没有回去，也独家要嘛是吧？我同时呢，那这说是必须当当，没现在那个身体可能的我是热干不能，可能让这这个的，我必须老不当下这地变多嘛这是。但天天身体呀，都是这个热的，但是什么天都是人家下个热，都是。那他那些上这不下来呢？那上下来的，俺这个这个下子做呢，那下差不多就是差不多说这个，开路是这个，那里看路呀说这个新鲜的，那必须老管当这些。第上的个是，这个俺这个这个下差不多说的么就上的最养生训练呢，那个可是，的都是路上的嘛。那些说就是养过的是人家也啥是吧？他天天要这电工是这各种的行呢。我查些呀，有的多是吧？我查些有的多呀，这我有些这的个培训当中没经过这些，我的他的天天多老往路上给，那边什么事天天要是看见，天天都的这种那边这边找有是吧？我天天我是什么这种。可能我这边看看这么有嘛这些，培训当当这些的，但培训当当的，我这的培训当当的，我这个结果是什么当当，什么民间的培训当过嘛的，什么民间的他被帕拉尼的说些，什么真的话是有了，这是我。
We are at the bottom of page 19 and over to page 20. As Geshe explained, so let's say we have followed the preliminary or preparatory practices, and now we could sit on our practice cushion or a seat, and we are going to do our actual practice. So in our actual practice, we should think this way. That since time immemorial, or beginningless time until now, I have been, controlled and dictated by my mind and thoughts, isn't it? And my mind has been under the control and the dictation of afflictive emotions. And these afflictive emotions prompt us, motivate us to do, negative actions, which produce all kinds of pain and suffering in samsara. So that is the theoretical model, why we are stuck in samsara and going round and round the samsara. And as Geshe explained, the nature of our mind is very undefiled and very pure. Often we talk about the clear light nature of mind. Mind is, luminous and undefiled. But unfortunately, that luminous, undefiled nature is not controlling us. Our mind is controlled by adventitious, afflictive emotions, or delusions, or kleshas, or nyurmong. And so because of this, all kinds of problems, arise, and we confront them. Some of the examples Geshe has given to demonstrate this point is, like, say, if we have a white piece of cloth, clean, pure white, it depends upon an artist who is going to make use of that white piece of cloth. The artist can use that as a canvas to produce this amazing artwork, and that could be very valuable, right, in the market, priceless art, okay? So which means that this piece of white cloth has been transformed into something that's very priceless and valuable, isn't it? Or the artist could misuse the piece of cloth to clean all the colors from his brushes, then it becomes a trash, isn't it? So this piece of white cloth has now no value, it just becomes a trash, isn't it? So the piece of white cloth, what it is going to be, it depends upon, how the artist makes use of it, properly or improperly. So in the same way, our mind in its nature is very pure and undefiled, but how are we going to use it is going to determine the outcome, And if our mind is, is ruled and controlled by positive thinking, then it's like, converting the white piece of cloth into canvas and producing this priceless artwork, isn't it? But if our mind is controlled and ruled by negative emotions, then it's like turning this white piece of cloth into trash. We basically, trash. Yeah. So it depends how we are going to utilize this amazing mind that we have. Another example Geshe has given is like, say, when a blacksmith gets this, piece of copper, right? And it depends upon what, he wants to make out of it. He could, make a container out of this copper, and then that becomes something useful, and it might have certain value. Or maybe the blacksmith could use the piece of copper to make a Buddha statue or an image, right? Then it will have other values because it's an object of refuge, and people who, pay respect to that will gain a lot of merit. Or the blacksmith could use the copper to create a trash bin. So it's a trash bin now, So it depends, isn't it? So our mind in its nature is very luminous and cognitive and pure, that could not be defiled by anything. But advantageously, our mind is controlled and ruled by afflicted emotions or delusions. So therefore, we find ourselves engaging in what called unconstructive actions and negative actions, which produce all kinds of suffering in samsara. So in our situation, it is as if our positive state of mind is in the dormant form, kind of in the backseat burner, isn't it? Our negative state of mind is very active and very, active and very proactive, so to speak. So this is how our mind is very much controlled and ruled by the proactive negative state of mind. So we are on top of page 20. So while in session, as we take into account our present situation and this kind of old paradigm, if I could say it, we have been following, is that we are controlled by our mind. Our mind is controlled by afflicted emotions, and afflicted emotions motivate us to do the negative actions, which produce all the sufferings and miseries of samsara. So this is the storyline that we have right now, and this is the paradigm we have been following. Now we want to make a paradigm shift here, isn't it? So how can we do a paradigm shift here is that instead of letting our mind control us, now we want to control our mind. We want to discipline our mind. We want to subdue our mind. Once we have control of our mind, if we succeed in that, then we could use our mind in whatever way we just want to be, And the description in the text gives us that if your mind is controlled and disciplined and trained well, if you want to set your mind on any focus or object, it will sit right there, like a solid rock, like the king of Mount Meru, the king of mountains, isn't it? And then if you want to redirect your mind into some other practice, it flows into the practice just like a water river. It's just kind of very flexible, isn't it? So this is what we would like to do, paradigm shift, isn't it? At the moment, our mind is very undisciplined. Yes, we would like to do some meditation. Well, as soon as we start meditation, laxity and excitement show up, and then they just kind of ruin the whole thing, isn't it? As it is even mentioned in the Lamrim text that, even for the duration of milking a cow, if we have meditated, our mind will be everywhere. It's not going to sit, still on a focus. It just gets distracted here and there. That is the present situation of our mind. But we would like to change that. We would like to train our mind in such a way that we can use it just the way we wanted it to be. So instead of becoming a servant of our mind, we want to make our mind to serve us, our greater purpose. As Geshe said that at the moment, of course, we sometimes generate positive thought. We would like to cultivate faith. We would like to cultivate compassion, bodhicitta. But as soon as we start to do that, all these mundane thoughts come up. Like, well, okay, now I have to do this one, And then, well, what about that one? Then the mind is kind of distracted, We are really not focused in what we're doing. We couldn't, because our mind is ruling us. We are not ruling our mind. Now we want to bring a paradigm shift and train our mind in such a way that we will be able to use our mind to the utmost, purpose. And as Geshe quoted from his memory, as Lama Tsongkhapa in his kind of a realization, like a song, we said that may we be able to develop the level of concentration where our mind, if it is put on a focus, it sits like a Mount Meru. If it's redirected into any other practice, it just kind of follows very swiftly into that, And he said, this is how I practice it, so should you do it, this kind of practice.
What is Karsa Chigu? Troy, we Chingu owned Mason Sella. Gabi Mikwana Yang, Korimtan, Tangshita, Shedari machine, Rigbe Session. Say him Mutor, John Chadis, or Derek Honje, Gabi was a cup that when the Tejoji told you got to go to a computer. Tejo told you got to go to Zania, young judge or young soldier, don't you those Shedai and there, sim to try it on the go. So the court of Tombo carried Gong Samna, but the court of Tiara Shayaji on the Tanda, this human dear herself. Larina that the community this on the Sanji Gurjiguna, Sanji good Tambo Chizum Kazi, that sort of the Tevkan Kazi, going, but the next Tamu Shade of Karishayina. But the next law, Yasan, Tigatata Made, but good share, young Shimon, old child digger.
No.
But the next in Chizum Zan in Eva. Tambo that I could say the Hasi Gongos or Tar, wrong chair, take around 17 mothers. Could schedule the door of the Jura did she done anything in the room?
No.
The Tamotaka Chai had a deal dog is so much. But it was that.
So while we are in actual practice session and doing our meditation, we should make every effort to see that our meditation is not disrupted by laxity and excitement, jingu. And so whatever our focus is, we should stick to that focus. Let's say our meditation focus is, contemplating the fully endowed human form. Okay? So this is our topic for the moment, and we should just simply meditate around this. Now don't, like in some way in the middle, okay, what about compassion? What about emptiness, Because if you think about compassion and emptiness, it becomes a distraction from your focus, isn't it? Because your focus is fully endowed form, not compassion and emptiness. Those are right objects, but maybe for another time, isn't it? So we just have to stick to the focus and see that laxity and excitement do not interrupt our practice. As Geshe recalls that in the context of Lamrim, as our lineage masters or the gurus tell us, that if we would like to meditate on a Buddha image, right in the beginning, take your time and determine, the size of your image. Do you want to visualize a thumb-sized Buddha, or you want a little bigger one? Whatever size you determine, that's fine with you. But while you're actually meditating it, do not change the size. Do not increase the size of the Buddha image. Do not change the color of the Buddha, If you do that, then we will never achieve concentration. Okay. Of course, it's nicer to imagine a bigger Buddha because it comes more easily to the mind. Well, that's what you should have decided at the beginning, because you decided a smaller size and you have to stick to that. You cannot change the size of the Buddha, color of the Buddha, profile of the Buddha in the middle of the practice, And if we do keep on doing that, we are not going to be able to accomplish concentration and focus.
고름 다시 고름 조신다 고름 아주 보시고 다 그래서 까지 밑반남지 고름다 정시다 와시 다 뒤니야 뭐지고 대저 정신이가 내가 공부하는 뭐 샬금신도 고름신도 공부를 어디에 바로 레서는 지금 뭐라 그 똥바로 내려 와 근데 공부 가세요 데리데 가세 봐도 그거야 그게 팬바로 못 당하이나 어때 봐지 정 시시에 뭐 세기를 초 몇조와 장하샤데스 어디 문은 세보시 근데 디가 데이터 선생님도 뭐죠 미과 거래 디가 데이터와 데라야 미과 세보 다들 중능이다 미과 세보 예배 예배도 요말하지 거기 세보 상호동 공부제 세보라 사대 3대 파진라 러베 까마도베 마도베 데타지 제고샤다고 진짜 대대송도와 그래서 니네가 대저 도시가 이제 3대 신의 파디 제금셰다리스 진짜 제금셰다서는 대인지와 제금 조셔야 되기로 조금도 이기라고 공부가 진짜 배만 있으라고 근데 대저 니가 저서잖아 근데 대저 니가 상호지도 뭐다 당원이 커버해 샤섬니 이걸 조금씩 쉬어보라고. 어디가 나 미국 가가 도시는 유대 삼삼삼이야 뒤가 미국 봐. 때 유를 내서 오시는 어떻게 보면 돼. 왜 가서 제달라르는 소나간가 나는 그가 직발을 봐. 근데 지금 샤다 탐지 지금 샤다시도 지금 코너서야 돼서 와도 지금 코너 때 비지 말이. 조금 열어.
So we're on top of page 20. And where the ending of the first paragraph reads, these meditations should follow the given order, and except for the training in the perfection of concentration, they are all analytical meditations, period. Okay. So Geshe-la's explanation pertains to that. And so when we are in a practice session, and we have our own focus on meditation, we have to meditate in the proper order. And we must not miss anything, in our sequence. But if we miss it, then our meditation is going to be incomplete, right? And let's say we are focusing on fully endowed human form, then we think about all the pertinent points relating to that. See that our meditation has as much as possible clarity and as much as possible focus on it. And we are mostly doing analytical meditation, although it says they are all analytical meditations. Maybe that got a little bit, I don't know, my footnote carried away. Because primarily we are doing analytical meditation or Qigong, except when we cultivate calm abiding or shamatha, shine, because that requires, single-pointed meditation. Except for that, for all other practices, mostly we are doing analytical meditation. Just like Geshe explained that, let's say we think about, fully endowed human form and its enriching factors or the qualities, and then we think about, how difficult it is to find these qualities. But yet, how easily we could lose it. What must we do to be able to have this kind of life over and again, And it requires a lot of thinking, right? Analysis, analytical thinking. But at the end of the analysis, we feel like, wow, now I really can appreciate this fully endowed human form. It is amazing, right? Then we might have to do a single-pointed or placement meditation a little bit, right? Because you remember in the context of Lamrim how we often talk about we need to alternate between analytical meditation and the single-pointed meditation, Pelma, right? We have to alternate between the two meditations. We primarily do analytical meditation. At the end of analytical meditation, we do a single-pointed meditation, and then we will again start with analytical meditation. So that's what how we should do our practice. No. So we're on to page 20 still, and where it reads thirdly, or in conclusion, so we need to do proper dedication of our virtue or merit arising out of our practice. And of course, one suggestion is that we can do the dedication following the way of Bodhisattva Samantabhadra prayer. Now, Geshe is checking over that. That's quite a long prayer, Of course, we could do it. Or we might do an excerpt from that prayer, which we often do one stanza, right? Just like the Manjushri and Samantabhadras have done, so will I follow them and dedicate my merit, right? That's one stanza, So anyway, we will do proper dedication, right, of our merit at the end of our session. So now you know that a session consists of beginning or preliminary, especially cultivating proper motivation, actual practice, and then conclusion is the dedication. Yeah. So this is how we should conduct our everyday life. In other words, we are in session, we are in between session, which we haven't talked about yet, my footnote. But in a session, this is how we should do in our everyday life. And now again, Geshe is checking over this fact that when it comes to actual practice during the day, we even find it very challenging to do our practice even for half an hour very properly, isn't it? Okay. But now another thing is, of course, it's a fact that we have to nap. We have to sleep. And that's a necessity. But then the good news about that is sleep or ni in Tibetan, it is a mental factor which is called changeable factor. You can change the sleep into positive, negative, or neither. Okay? So as our lamas often say, that before we fall asleep, we should cultivate a positive state of mind, and then we fall asleep. For the duration of our sleep, we will be accumulating merit. So probably sleeping a couple of hours, isn't it? That's just amazing. And we fall asleep very soundly. And during that whole period, we are accumulating a lot of virtue and merit, And we should always make use of that. Before we fall asleep, we should cultivate a positive frame of mind and then fall asleep in that way. Because otherwise, during the daytime, our practice takes a lot of effort. Even practice for half an hour without distraction seems to be quite a challenge for most of us,
No. citizen dire karsa sozo pige kara dogen be laga dogen tom dogen do tom do yesam kora dogen to kora do yesam zum do chen karsa be pangme ma ji chen sozo jo ba da ko ci de do wa je mong zi me de dong na da do ba shi ro na da do shi jo sai do de ji ji de ya de do是的ing shi na ni ka ba do ya da 내가 공부 그때 자극이다. 상로 가랬다는 거 치에 나와면 줘대는 애는 그 남이 나서 이제 누자리로 걸어. 다 되게 맞지 이제 상로다 셈지 정신 줘대는 이는 거책 총용으로 와. 어디서다 그 희신적 그래서 돼 있어요.
개인기 차변 나는데 디겐 튠섬을 자도에게.
라.
개인기 단다 디시 가서 텐시에 튠섬을 자도에게 차변
라.
전시에 대해서 와게 단다디 튠섬 튠섬을 자도에게 얘데 튠을 해야 되시게 다 건져 놓은 이유와 놓으시게
이거 넣으래
놓으시게
그래서 나다 튠데 전시 때가 다서 시험 거
라로 놓으시게 도잖아. So we are on top of page 20, the third paragraph from the top. Where it begins with during meditation sessions. So I was double checking with Geshe. It's not during meditation sessions. It is during post-meditation sessions, right? That's different. That means you're out of meditation. So correction there. Not during meditation, but during post-meditation or in between sessions, we still have to practice what we call mindfulness or alertness and introspection. Tibetan word is Chenshe. Okay, and as Geshe explained that in between sessions, when we are not in actual sessions, we have to be mindful of our senses. We have to restrain our sense doors. Otherwise, like if we see a beautiful thing, we might chase that. We feel attached to that beautiful person or the object. Then we hear a beautiful sound and a music. Like now, we chase that one, and then we got sucked into that out of attachment. So that's why I said even like when we are in between sessions or post-meditational sessions, we have to be mindful of our sense doors so that they don't become distracted by sensual objects. And then introspection, we should really introspect how our mind is doing, and we should be aware of whatever we do. We can say, okay, now I'm walking. Now I'm just going to the market, or that, so whatever it is, that we don't do it just like a robot, we don't know what we're doing. We're walking, we never think we are walking, and we're eating, we never think we are eating. We just kind of like, just life goes on as it is. So that's kind of like a very, how should I say, in some way, that is called not using our introspection alertness. Life is kind of more like towards a distraction, just kind of goes on. Now we have to be mindful, be aware of our thoughts and actions, even in post-meditation sessions. Where I checked with Geshe, is it during? Because in my English translation it said during, but is it in Tibetan? He said, of course, in during, we do need mindfulness introspection. That needs not to be said. But during in-between sessions, post-meditation periods, we still need to maintain our mindfulness and introspection. So, for example, in between sessions, how we use like mindful introspection is when we really introspect our mind, how mind's doing. Well, am I about to do something that I shouldn't be doing? Then it helps us stop it. But if we don't pay attention to whatever we are doing, thinking, then we might engage in the actions that we shouldn't be engaging in. The example Geshe just gave is like, say, if you're a monk, right? You are in between sessions and you are just kind of taking a walk, nice. And then all of a sudden you'd like to sing or something, okay. Now, if you introspect your mind, you're like, oh, I can't sing, as a monk, I cannot sing in that. But if you don't have that introspection, then you might end up singing, and you even don't realize that you're singing. So this is how introspections need to be maintained in between sessions.
That say was showers, that say was say any big carsa, new Maeva, Mongo Maeva, Suriva. New Zealand supported you are due to Yamadona, Church tomorrow. And Mountain code, that is on the knee show to us. Don't just as in Lamsa, support New York go to Grow. Which is the church here, your gigs you were. She say 30 by she. Tinny Mia Nanjola, Zheng, yes, she that she was none. She never allowed no get over Chabba your power told me. Soon be the Dutch house, or did that, or to get it at the Tundum Shad Yedi, in Tundum delicious on and we love on the Hinekar or the Gaya paint waters, forty waters, the power to make side with in and near side that there was some your or this on the ordinary shall race, Minyo and Angel of Song say, Minyo said in Yimokun is a raw.
No, so.
Many was better, Chang's bed, Robert, the Nimeku Loso,
so.
What did it? Said the Mio and Angel Tonji. And yes, she does show no, sit down at Corsa. Never take she does show no, sit down, never take Haji Kondaja, Nigalam the Gavakun Shani. And the big jump road away in the Shanghai and the cutting in Zugum with the Kargon chair. That till summer got taken, summer got they've got knee loss on it. It didn't need to do so because they could do you are it or what is Shartse.
So we're still on page 20, end of the third paragraph from the top. And as Geshe explained, that even in terms of eating, where it says balanced diet, the Tibetan word is eat moderately. Yes, so moderation is a way to go. If we eat it like less, maybe we don't get enough nutrition for our body, sustenance. So as a practitioner, we have to remain healthy so to be able to do our practice. So if we don't get enough nutrition and sustenance, that's not a good way of eating. But if we overeat it, well, that's a problem. That's how we all have that experience. Like after eating, it's very hard to practice, isn't it? We feel sluggish, kind of heavy, So overeating is not good either. So we have to be moderate, in our eating, and so that's important. And then, of course, during the daytime, actually, we should be engaging in our practice or good actions, not fall asleep, so to speak. And according to Bodhisattvas' vows, Bodhisattvas, if they fall asleep during the daytime, they may be transgressing their vows, And of course, we have to sleep, as we said, at night. Then before we fall asleep, we should cultivate positive frame of mind, whether you take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, or you cultivate compassion, or you're thinking about, bodhicitta, whatever is your preference practice, think about that and then fall asleep. So for the duration of your sleep, 3 hours, 8 hours, 5 hours, whatever, you will be accumulating a lot of, positive energy or merit. Okay.